Good evening and welcome back to another edition of Beyond the Backstage Pass. I am your host, Vince Edwards. You may know me from Sound Image Productions. We're on a tear here, guys. I tell you what, if you could only be here with us. I've got a couple closed roadie groups on Facebook, one called Death by Loadout, another called The Backstage Pass. To my right is my good friend and co-host, Kyle Thomas. Hi, Kyle.
How you doing, brother?
So I've had some problems.
I know the
Sometimes I get in a little
mispronunciations.
roll. You know this now. You know this. Well, we just did this thing with another friend, and I mispronounced his last name. We won't mention his name. But you know I love you, baby.
That was colorful, dude.
We just had my guest reminded me of a great punk band called Fear. And I love this band. I grew up with this band. And so we threw it on the house system, and we were rocking out. And I'm high as a kite on punk rock right now. I'm so happy. We threw on some Bad Brains right at the end. Just so sweet.
I'm glad
a
it's like
total
one
time
thing
machine.
we got in common is love for punk rock.
Is that the only thing we got in common?
Sometimes. No,
So we
I'm
both
kidding.
like big speakers and amplifiers. I mean, right?
It's true. We got a really cool
Touring
gift
around
that
with like
came
fucking
in.
microphones and shit. We
Same-
got more in common than you think.
Same with the gift that came in today. We're both looking at it just like, oh fuck. We won't
Well,
talk
I didn't
about
know
it
if
too
you
much.
want me to put it on blast. Winston already put you up on Facebook. I don't know if you've seen that.
I know.
Yeah,
thanks,
you needed to
Winston.
spank this fucking guy. Your shit's out there, dude.
It's all right. We may have had gamble number 6 dropped off by a lovely fellow, and we might be doing something in the future with it against a well-known digital console competitor. So
Yeah. We'll say that much, but we got this amazing. The history of rock and roll is in the building today. I tell you what.
I'll tell you another thing, dude. You got a gift.
Mister.
You got a gift from a lovely friend called Dirk Schubert.
Mr. Schubert, give us what he gave us.
I think what he did was
I fucking love this guy.
to support George's lovely daughter Grace.
Yes.
He bought a metric shit ton of cookies to give to us.
Is he gonna come at it any other way but big?
I mean, I got dog biscuits.
That's
We
what
got
you
Girl
do.
Scout cookies. We got Thin Mints,
This
dude.
for the crew? Is Dirk
mean-
brought this for the crew?
He bought it for us, really.
That is
But,
very
so.
sweet. Dirk, thank you, my brother. We miss you, and we hope you're feeling well. You know, he's on the mend from a recent operation. I think he's doing much better now. And we badly want you on the show. I don't, whatever it takes to get you here, buddy. You know, magic carpets, hookers, I don't care. I will do it. So you just let me know, sir, because we want you on this show. Anyways, thank you for the lovely gift. It's a sweet.
Yeah, that was super nice. Thank you, brother.
And talk about serious legend in the game. I mean, seriously, dude, like fucking big brain. Bernie could go toe to toe with this guy. It'd be like a thing. I'd love to have these guys on the show. But we get Jim and Dirk on the show. Oh my God, Jim Gamble and Dirk.
Oh, I'd love to hear some
Wouldn't that be
stories, man.
awesome?
Oh my God.
This is just, you know, you can have a dream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can have a dream and you just hope things come true. Today we had some interesting guests. First of all, the lovely Steve Orgain from Chef's Touch came in and brought some. I had this wonderful sandwich. Do you know about this? There was some sandwich.
I did. All right.
Steve
So,
Orgain.
in my defense, let me explain this
You have
story
a story?
before
Tell the
you
audience.
bastardize me.
What happened?
So
to me.
I'm in middle of work mode, you know,
Uh-huh.
setting this beautiful new Gamble, new Gamble up
New
right
50-year-old
to us.
Gamble.
And in the middle of it, my sandwich gets handed out, you know. Fucking 2 hours later, I see Vinny's sandwich in his box, and I fucking steal it, right? Rightfully so. Anybody else would do this to Vinny. I left them half
a
the
fucking
sandwich.
death wish they would do that.
But, you know, lo and
I can't believe
behold,
you did that to me.
lo and behold, it's not really Vinny's sandwich.
No,
so.
no, it was mine.
It was awesome. I may have ate our guest's sandwich.
You ate the guest sandwich and his homemade Steve Orgain. I didn't even like lemon bars until I had a Steve Orgain lemon bar. Oh my God.
Let me tell you,
So fucking
I
good.
appreciated that lemon bar.
Those
Not
things are
intentionally.
killer.
So.
And Steve and his wife and his team over there. Oh my God, Chef's Touch, man. You want good eats and putting on a big show, call Steve at Chef's Touch and his people. They murder it.
Seriously.
I can't say that enough. And he ripped off my sandwich, Steve, so I got screwed. But it's okay.
I
It's
got the
okay,
other
'cause I
half
love
for
him.
you
I
if
made
you
him go
change
get the
your
pizza
mind.
for the guest because, you know, he's a little fucking pisher. All right. Moving on. We had an amazing visit today. There's this. We do some works with the Jewish community. We love these people, and
Sure do.
And they reached out to us, the amazing rabbi. He's a 75-year-old man. This guy's the rabbi to the stars. I mean, the list, it's
I
ridiculous.
think he was Bill Graham's rabbi.
Yeah, he
right?
was Bill Graham's rabbi.
Pretty legendary on his
he's
own.
a badass. He's a badass. He rides around on this old-time motorcycle with a sidecar, as he calls it, his mitzvah bike. And he's like 75, and he's just an outreach dude. He's incredible. His name is Yusuf Langer, Rabbi Yusuf Langer. Sweetest guy in here. We're going to do a thing with him coming up, a really special thing to help celebrate his birthday. Maybe get Pharrell and some other artists involved that he's fond of.
It looks pretty cool. We'll talk about it a little
and he
bit.
came in with Brian Webster. I want to say that to you. Brian gave us these cool cards. Mike, remember that thing I was showing you? He's made these backstage pass cards, local. You can't see it. Mike might throw it up if he's got it. All access, and it's local crew, and it's got the world on it. That's the crew. You're the local crew for the world. There's a little sentiment on the back. It's very clever and very sweet. It was nice to have him in the building. And we appreciate him, and we're going to be doing some work with him in the near future. How's the rest of your life treating you?
Not too bad, dude. You know, still going through this COVID thing. I think it's really starting to add up the time of like, fuck, man. We're getting into it. Things are starting to pick up pace. It's right on that edge of things starting to work together, and it's been an interesting mixture. So I'm glad we've picked up some projects to stay busy in the meantime, and I'm looking forward to the future.
Well, the future is bright. You're much in it. You're much included. We have plans, and I think the shop's going to fire back up here in a minute. I need you out front. Seriously, I really do. You and Mikey and a couple of the others, but really, you guys straight up. We're going to get to some stuff. There's some small stuff coming on. There's some internal shit. It's going to be good. Me and the old man are talking about. Dirk is saying, you're welcome to us. We love you, Dirk. Johnny Schumacher's checking in. My beautiful, incredible woman, Jackie at Slow Fiber. I love that girl. Pat O'Doul. Pat, I'm really getting a kick out of this lighter. I'm not kidding, man. I dig the shit out of this lighter. At first, I was like, that's kind of cool, you know, but I needed one less thing to make me
The
have a bigger
narcissism,
ego.
dude.
Yeah.
You just fed right into that, bud.
It's a great gift. I really appreciate it. And Scott Cheney, how you doing, buddy? Go fuck yourself.
Hey,
No,
Scott.
I'm just kidding, Scott. I just wanted to throw in a little, like, Scott, we got mad love for you, brother. That was playful, and I'm just kidding.
He's
Thank
just
you for
fired
tuning in
up.
tonight.
It was
I'm
all
fired
the
up,
fear.
man. Blame it on Lee Ving and fear. That's
Beef
what happened.
baloney, dude. He hears that and just goes nuts
I
around the shop.
I had to redo my hair. I was like air drumming, and my hair was like, I had to get up like 5 minutes before the show. It's not a joke. And we are lucky enough this evening. I've got a dear, dear friend in the building. Actually, two. It's Winston Dama's over here. Murdering like normal. You've seen Winston on our show. He's a badass, legendary mix engineer, and the amazing drum god and SIR disciple, Paulie Montero's in the house with his beautiful little dog Norm. We got him out here and kicking it with us, and so we got a big show. Let's get right to it, yeah.
Sounds good, brother.
Oh man, so good to have you. It's great to see you, man. Fucking
too.
bright-eyed and all that. You son of a bitch. All right, let's do
Your
this.
beard's looking exceptionally straight today.
See
my
what?
friend.
That's sweat.
I like it. At least he's honest.
Yeah, I was air drumming. Got me there, man. Fucking then I topped it off with some Bad Brains. I was gone at that point. Tonight on the show, Tonight on the show, we really got a special guest with us, a dear, dear man, a sweetheart of a guy, fun as hell to work with, been around, mixed it up. The only thing I got against him maybe is the Canadian thing, but he can't help it. So we're going to just move through that as quick as we can. You see what just happened?
Oh, no.
We just had full meltdown. Here, why don't you bear with us?
I'm not here. Don't worry. This
Well,
is what I do for a living, right, guys?
It's a complete failure. Can I borrow your mic?
Yeah, right. No worries. Right here.
The mic is gone, though.
Oh, wow.
Nobody home.
Legendary.
This happens, guys.
This isn't what it looks like. Don't worry.
It's a little bit what it
Making
looks
me
like.
feel real awkward, bud. I got some pens.
no,
I'm in
that's
your
not it.
pocket.
That's my.
All right, well, I lost it.
Deeper. Deeper.
The fuck no.
Open your
This
shirt up.
rules right now. I am having so much fun with this.
Where did you do with this thing? This is what happens when I don't mic you up.
I know you should never. We've talked about
It's
this
in
100
your-
times.
it's
Don't
in
let me
your-
do shit.
Look at
They know
you.
the rules here, guys. The
Useless.
rules are don't let me involved with the technology.
It's pretty
I'm
much-
strictly man dealing with the the human aspect of the job. All right, we good? We back?
Beautiful, baby.
Live TV people, thank you for bearing with us. I think that was a lot of fun. Personally, I'm super cool with it. All right, let's get back into it. Hey, how you doing, guys? Good to see you. Great.
No one got to see my angle of you birthing a pack out of the rear view, so thank you for that. Dude.
All right, you shut the fuck up, man. I'm running late here. All right. He moved here from Canada. He came to the U.S. in 1984. Let's see, he started working for AKG Acoustic Systems, became a project manager there, worked on the reissue of the great, what was that, the C12, I think?
Yeah, the
mics,
C12.
Yeah,
Yep,
fucking amazing.
Classic.
Moved on to some tech support, turbo sound all over. Ended up at JBL. He helped bring Vertec to the market, to the touring market. He's now working with an amazing international company called Alcons. He is their North American representative. I absolutely adore this fucking guy. People, welcome Dave Rahn to the show. Mr. Dave Rahn, how are you, sir?
I am good, man. Thank you so much for inviting me up. It's good to be back up in the neighborhood.
It is really good to see you. It's been a minute. And let me, real quickly, before we get to the hard-hitting questions. I got the hard-hitting questions right
There
here.
better be.
What the fuck every time we try to talk on the phone, bro?
What?
Every time I try to talk to you on the phone.
Well, I live out in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
To steal a phrase from the company I work for, we're from the Netherlands, but I live up in the Santa Cruz Mountains, so cell service is a little dodgy sometimes. So you got to use the backdoor line, and you'll catch me.
I get the trade-off. It is absolutely beautiful up there.
Yeah.
All right. How have you been doing?
Good, man. It's the all things considered, right?
Yeah.
It's a rough time for sure, but I'm doing great personally and professionally. Professionally things are tough, but we're doing well. We're diverse enough that everything is solid for us.
So I was going to jump into how you get into business. We'll get there. But I want to ask you about something super special. Now, I know you're a tough guy. I know you're a badass. Now, seriously. But you, what are you? We're 50-year-old man.
Yeah.
You went and took the deep dive and got married.
I did, man.
You crazy son of a bitch. Tell me about it. She must be magnificent.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No, I found this lady in my little town of Felton.
Yes, sir.
Up in the Redwoods. We were both hanging out at the local watering hole one night, and it was just kismet, man. It was just incredible. You go through life. I was married once for quite some time, and then another relationship, and then I ended up getting into my own home and getting real comfortable with being alone, and that's always when it happens, right? You're real comfy.
Yeah.
Everything's going great.
Yeah.
You think, oh, this is cool. I can do this, and then all of a sudden you fall in love, and everything changes. But so much so for the better. It's a really wonderful thing.
You can see it all over your face, Dave. I know you a minute now. And
she makes me smile a lot.
I'm really happy for you, David.
Thank you,
Seriously,
brother.
that is such a fuck. I'm really happy for you. I'm a little cynical on these types of things. I have crazy love in my life, but one of the great things when we got together was we were like, yeah, no more marriage. I just want to do the love parts through the marriage. We're scared of it, and we got bit by it. But you, if anybody, you're such a sweet, and I know you did well. So congratulations to you and your lovely wife. It's a wonderful thing.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate
My brother,
it.
how did you get into this business? You've been doing this over 30 years.
Right, yeah, the time just flies by. It's really incredible how quickly things have moved by, and I think a great deal of that has to do with doing something you love.
Yeah.
I got into it early on because I was a musician. I wanted to be a rock and roll drummer, and got my first kit and started playing, and then got into a little band, and I found myself getting closer and closer to the technical side of production, with just the band in the rental unit, down at the U-Haul storage place, making all that noise, right? And God, early on, I got a job with AKG Acoustics here in the Bay Area. They were actually in San Leandro.
Yeah, right down the road.
And the U.S. division had at that time brought on and bought DBX, Orban, and then they brought in Turbo and BSS. And I got in there at the right time. I think I was about 20 years old. And the bass player in my band said, hey, there's an opening at AKG for the parts guy. Well, great, I'll work at a cool place. There's musicians, there's, all this technology.
That's right.
Jump right in. And before that, I had been doing sales. I worked at Fry's Electronics, a big Bay Area electronics outfit.
That's right.
Got into the hi-fi side and good sounding speakers. And even when I was growing up, my parents were big into audio. They had the really killer Philips turntable. They had the Marantz system and really nice. Actually, they had speakers. I think they were like a Heil air motion transformer, really high end, late 70s hi-fi system.
Right.
So I was kind of spoiled with what I was listening to.
Yeah, you came from a very good home.
Yeah. Well, only child, but a really interesting family too. Dad was the hardworking guy. Mom was the the student forever, and she got her PhD in neuroscience and was a real smart lady, and learned a lot from them. And got to really give them a nod, because they've been a real huge positive influence in my life, no matter what direction I wanted to take. And so had a good foundation, and AKG was a wonderful place to start. A lot of amazing people in that camp here in the Bay Area, so a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. I know that you did some artist development on the drumming side.
Right,
Talk to me about that. I know Tommy Lee was one of the first guys you went after.
Yeah. With AKG, after a few years, I worked my way up, just worked really hard, and I knew that, surround yourself with good people, learn from the people around you, and I really took that to heart. Worked with guys like Joey Wolpert, who was the product manager at the time, brilliant guy, and an engineer in the studio. Dave Angris, all these other people. But after a couple of years, they moved me up into a product manager position, and they were introducing a new line of mics for performance stuff. Because AKG had always been more studio oriented, right?
Right.
So they brought out the little AKG 408, looked like a little egg, and the D112 kick drum mic. Everyone's got them. You've got them here, I'm sure. And they wanted to get this out there. And here in the U.S., we went about to get some endorsees. And so I was part of that camp that sought out the endorsees and got to work with some of these guys. And Tommy Lee was one of the guys that we got on. And Dave Weckl, amazing drummer, drummed with Chick Corea, who just recently passed.
Sadly,
sadly. Got to spend time at both of their homes. Matt Sorum from GNR and
was that during
the Cult.
That's when you came up. When did you interact with Matt Sorum? When he was at GNR?
Yeah, it was right at the very beginning, because I was actually also doing some stuff with the GNR camp, and they were still rehearsing at the Complex, I think is what it was called. It was a facility in LA.
Right.
But it was right at the time when the band was really splitting up and being divisive. So the first half of the day, you'd have, Slash and the band in there rehearsing, and then Axl would show up, and then it got just, dodgy.
A little sketchy.
But Matt Sorum was part of that camp, and what a really nice guy. Really sweet guy.
Absolutely.
Got to go up to his house in the Hollywood Hills, when we signed the deal, and he signed a bunch of drum heads for, employees and friends and all that good stuff, and welcomed us into his house. And he had, the classic rock star house. And I think actually Duff or one of the other guys owned it and was renting it to him for some god-awful amount. But you walk in and there's like suits of armor and gold albums, and, it's just gorgeous. But really sweet guy, humble, down to earth, and was a pleasure to work with. So. Yeah, the artist endorsement stuff was fun, a lot of fun. Got to spend time with studio engineers as well. It wasn't just the drummers, but doing time in studios like Ocean Way with Alan Sides, and just, learning from these people and being in this environment where they're all so passionate about creating and being a part of this whole process. And I was just soaking it up. Those were good times,
Well,
good times.
That comes to the issue with mentors. I know mentors have been important to you.
Huge.
I know you spent time with folks like Toby Francis, Jake Mann. Talk to us about that.
Yeah.
That's ZZ Top days, I guess.
Yeah, that was, I have to think about it, but I'm pretty sure that was the first time anyone said, hey, you want to come on the bus, right? Because I had always worked for manufacturers, but I always wanted to get out and meet people and work in the field and see what, how this stuff is used. And early on, it was the studio stuff. And I thought that was a great foundation for learning how to listen and how people mix. And I worked with Peter Wolf, the producer, not the Jay Giles
guitarist,
Jay Giles
guy.
But the producer, and he wrote a ton of songs like We Built This City and stuff that nobody knows, right?
They don't know that it's him, but he's a big deal.
He was a big part of the C12 reissue study that we tested all these mics around the world and all that good stuff. But mentors, in the live sound world, it's guys like Scoville, who I met early on when I started working for AKG, and we were dealing with the BSS systems, the old Brooks Iron systems. And I remember my first chance to meet him was I delivered his VariCurve remote control system to the Oakland Coliseum. I'm pretty sure it was Oakland. It might have been San Jose when they built the new arena, like 25 years ago.
Sure.
And got in there ahead of the show, you get in, walk in, deliver this piece with him, and he was just such a really nice guy, no ego, all about helping me learn, answering questions, let me walk around the arena with him while he's tuning this PA.
Yeah.
And then he sets me up with, the pass, and he gets me the seats in like the penalty box. And I'm a big hockey guy, so I'm,
you're
I'm in the
happy
first row above everybody's head, so I can see real well. And he actually got me a set of Neil Peart sticks. And Neil Peart was on Modern Drummer that month. He got that autographed for me.
Yeah.
So,
that's very, very sweet.
Very special place in my heart, of course.
That is not an easy thing to get to, is Neil and his soft side. And you're right, Robert Scoville is one of the coolest guys in the game. He's a dear friend of the show.
You just said his name
I'm
right.
fucking being nice right now. Hi, Charlie. I'm being nice right now. I love Robert. I think he's a wonderful human being, and what a great break,
Yeah.
And to get
And he still had the long curly hair back then too, right? I think mine was pretty long and mullety back then too. So
I was going to ask you, was this long hair Robert or is this current Robert?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it was still long hair at that point. Yeah.
He's still pulling it off. I
Yeah.
mean, he just kind of, I think he thought it didn't suit his age at this point. But
I got to throw another name out there, Buford Jones.
Oh, Buford Jones.
I met him early on when I was with AKG because he was using the 535 mic on Faith Hill.
All right.
And this is, after all of his big rock and roll touring days, and he was in Nashville, and he started to get to handpick what he was doing, and he was mixing from the bus here and there once in a while. And, but what a sweetheart. Another one of those guys that you just can't help but love.
Living legend.
Yeah,
he's at
and
Belmont College teaching a
guy.
master class. Did you know this? He's at Belmont College teaching a master class in mixing.
Yes.
And oh my God, what I'd give to take that course.
I know, right? We were talking to him about coming out and doing some stuff with them from the manufacturer side.
Oh yeah.
We'd like to get involved with the educational stuff. We do a lot of stuff with.
I'm sure he would receive you with he's that southern part of him,
southern gentleman,
Yeah, he's just
and he has the stories. Oh my God.
David, I just stuck on David Bowie with him, or Pink Floyd. Dude, sit there with him a whole show, telling me stories about the early David Bowie stuff when he still had that high range.
Oh God,
and Buford's trying to EQ it to kind of get on top of that.
Yeah, the way they pulled off shows back in those days. Consoles were brand new.
Yeah.
And that's another cool thing, when I started in this industry, late 80s, early 90s, it was at a point where, tape still existed.
That's right.
And I got to work in some studios with guys with 2-inch tape with the Studers and the Sony MCIs. And, what a wonderful place to really learn and hang out and just enjoy, music being made, right?
Yeah.
And then we went through this big transition of the analog to the digital, and then early CD and, all the new digital formats. And I think it adds a lot to anyone's experience in the audio industry to have gone through that shift.
I couldn't agree with you more. Dave Grohl it wasn't just, he's got a new album out, but his last album, Wasting Light Heat, they went into the garage, literally in the garage, 2-inch tape, and you can hear it. You can hear the tape in the recording.
He had to use that desk, right? Did he use the desk from Sound City?
The desk, yeah. And it's there's something immediate about it. It's just it's a really full, big, warm sound.
Absolutely.
And I absolutely love it. And it starts out with kind of a little guitar thing, and then you can hear the tape. And and then it goes into stereo, and the second guitar breaks in, and then it kind of dissolves away. But man,
I got to throw Dirk's name out there too as one of those guys that when I first moved to Southern California, I was the rep for JBL with the big independent rep firm down there. And
that's right.
After a couple of years, I was heading up kind of the touring and production markets and the high-end install market. So I was dealing with Vegas, but I was dealing with all the big production companies. Sound Image, Dave Shadone and I became really good friends through that time.
Yep.
Met Dave Rahn and got to hang out with him a lot.
You're jumping all around. These are all in the questions here. What the hell are you doing, Dave?
Schubert taught me a lot lot analog and digital and circuit design. He's brilliant. He's a brilliant guy.
He
I could go off on
is probably one of the most brilliant. I know he may be watching right now. I'm not trying to kiss his ass. I do love the guy, but he really is one of the most brilliant minds of our business. And he's still sharp and badass. He's in the mix on my pages, on my little roadie pages, and he gets in there and schools some folks up, and it's really nice to see. I always get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
He's just brilliant.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Brian Olson over there at Firehouse Sound.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, come on, you can't ignore Firehouse,
Yeah, another one of those guys that I met early on, like when Firehouse was still doing just stage monitors, right?
Yeah.
He was mixing Peter Gabriel and The Cure, I think. And he was always the monitor guy for those bands, but they made sure he was on, and he custom made his wedges. And the reason I met him was he was buying these triangular horns that we had in the turbo sound line and sticking TAD drivers on them and building his own little wedge packages for those guys. And I remember meeting him at, I think, the Oakland Coliseum as well, and just getting to hang out during the day for the load in and just, you know, just looking over his shoulder and learning. And Peter Gabriel walks up, and I'm like, you know, this close to him, and he's one of my idols for sure. And, you know, I just realized early on, this is all within the first 5 or 6 years of AKG. I knew this was my business. This is my industry. I love these people.
Oh, absolutely.
And, you know, it all comes back to you go and do all this stuff ahead of the show, and then you load out. But the people at the show and the reaction that you get and just the community thing that exists when we're all sharing those experiences, just so powerful.
Pretty
you know?
special.
So for me, you know, I knew early on I was not a very good drummer. I like to play, but I'm not going to be a rock star. So I figured, well, maybe I can do something on this side of the console or be involved somehow. And so I'm, you know, very fortunate and blessed to be in a position to get involved in a lot of this stuff.
Oh,
And it's a lot of
absolutely.
fun.
Peter Gabriel, as an aside, as an artist, one of the rare guys that actually understands the technology too. He's really, you know,
Yeah, he
extraordinarily
got involved
sharp.
in Neve or something. Or no, SSL.
SSL.
Right.
Yeah, and just an incredible brain on that guy.
Yeah,
and an
big
incredible
brain.
talent. Sweet guy.
Yeah.
You mentioned Dave Rahn a minute ago.
Yeah.
You know, Dave Rahn is a legend in his own right. You know, some of those subs he comes up with are pretty insane. Talk to us about your interaction with Dave Rahn.
Dave Rahn, yeah. So when I was in Southern California and we were working on Vertec, you know, the earliest stages before it was released, it was, and it's pretty common knowledge, it was a big partnership between the ATK guys and the JBL custom shop. At the time, they had this custom group, and that was kind of, you know, the impetus to let's get started in line arrays, and the ATK guys were friendly. Michael McDonald had a relationship with those guys back to the SDSU days. But as we brought out Vertec and we started to launch it, you know, I was getting to know all these cats in the touring industry, the Dirks and Dave Ratts and Dave Shadones and all these folks, and went and did a demo for Dave Ratt, and we started to hang out a bit and just got to know him. And then I moved on to Renkus Hines after the rep thing, and stayed in connection with him. And we almost got to a point where we did some work with him with the micro wedges when the initial license with, I think, Radian expired. I was trying to pull him into our camp, but EAW ended up catching him. And you know, it was just a great experience, you know. And to see these guys when their companies are at this point, and then, you know, 20 years later, and we're all kind of growing up rapidly in this business, and see what he's been able to do and achieve. It's really amazing. You might
another one of the mad scientists in the game. He's
with character
kind of
and personality.
Absolutely.
And I did a Coachella with him one year with Renkus, and it was a blast. They had us. We had our own little camper in the fenced-off area for all the artists.
Sure.
And we set up a projector screen, and at the end of the day, we would be out there just having drinks and whatever, and we watched movies with our own little PA. And we played Spinal Tap and all this goofy stuff, so people would come over and hang out, and it was just a great time. So it was I might have been to Coachella once other than that, but it was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
And a great team on that festival, man. What a beast of a festival.
You know, hats off to him.
Wow.
It's a rough show. It's in a rough environment. Weather is never pleasant. You got wind issues. You got all kinds of challenges, and they make it happen. Them and Golden Voice, to their credit, get it done. And we come in after him on the Stagecoach thing, you know, the next week with the country thing, and knock that thing out. But yeah, it's an impressive to see him bring his carnival to town and get it done. And, and he's a badass. Another one I'd like to have on the show. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to have him on this show.
Yeah, right.
There's
there's
we'll
room
leave that.
for
We're gonna
everybody,
leave
right?
that lie. But again, a man can dream. You know.
Well, you know, nobody's working right now, so
I don't think that's the issue, bro.
Yeah.
But moving on.
Friendly competition.
Friendly competition, exactly. Early days working with our Godfather, the Lord, our Savior. I mean that the great Dave Shadone. I mean, talk to us about that. Dave Shadone is a badass in the game. He is my boss. Talk to me about your early days with Dave.
I really do. I love Dave. I love him as a friend and as a businessman. Brilliant. He's done great, and I'm really happy for him and what he's achieved down there. You know, the early days for me, he's one of those guys that I learned a lot from about business, you know, just the way he handled himself, in the company and the way he treated people. You know, demanding, but at the same time, you know, just a guy that you could count on and that would go to bat for you. You know, in those early days, building the Vertec enclosures, and they were involved, and there was a lot of co-development going on with that group, and they were like the top of the heap, the racing team, you know, and they were in my territory, so I got to go down there every month. And I stayed at the White House, you know, the Western White House.
The Western White House.
I spent a lot of time with Jason and him and the whole family, right? Like, they did these amazing Thanksgiving trips out to the desert with all the RVs and, you know, and the toys. And I did one of those years
Legendary
with those guys.
shit you're talking about
good
right
times, you know, really good times. And I'm happy to have Dave as a very close friend. Don't talk to him enough, but have to change that.
Yeah, well, you know, he's busy going back and forth between the work and, you know, keeping care of his mom out in the middle of the Ohio.
Yeah,
you know, and
there's
that
a
guy,
lot going on.
You know,
time passes so quickly too.
It's so weird. You blink.
We seem to be
right?
in a vacuum right now. But the one thing I will say about this whole COVID thing is that it does give you kind of pause, right? You sit and you think and you look back on people that have made an impression, and you reach out once in a while, and you have time for those conversations now. So I've been trying to do that and get caught up, and you know, I think it also places more emphasis on the relationships and what we're doing, right? Because we miss it, and we miss these people.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to be real happy to get out and do it again. There's going to be a lot of hugs and things going on in the production world.
I couldn't agree with you more. I want to say, we'll stop real quick and say, hey, guys, reach out. What my dear friend Dave just said is absolutely correct. You know, we got a lot of close relationships. Some of us are handling this better than others. If there's somebody that you dug and you were hanging out with on the road and you haven't talked to them in a minute, reach out. They might need a phone call. Just consider that.
Absolutely.
You know, again, we're not all handling this exactly the same. And some of us need to check in. The check-in is really helpful. And so, and I try to do that myself, and I would request that you do the same, please. And talk to us about early days Vertec. You know, Vertec came out like friggin' gangbusters. That you were working JVL. You brought that to the touring market.
At the time, I was the rep in Southern California, but I was the guy in the rep firm that had all the big touring accounts. And JBL had just gone through a bunch of big transitions, right, in leadership. And there was different things going on. I think they brought in Dave Shearman and Ramon, a bunch of folks in that area. And they knew they needed to get into the line array because VDOS was taken off, you know. And I had gone out and listened to the VDOS stuff and thought it was amazing, and what Jeffrey was doing with the L Acoustics guys, and Pierre from...
We're talking Jeffrey Cox?
Yeah, Jeffrey Cox. And then Pierre from Electrotech, you know, was one of the early guys using that system. And
what do you think about the Focal mid-range drivers they were using?
You know... It was a car audio driver, from what I recall.
You can be honest on the show.
Well, I can't really look at it as an individual component per se. I can look at the whole system and say, did I like it that night? Yeah. You know, there are times when you go out and you know the PA is great and it doesn't do what you think it's supposed to do. And, you know, things happen, but I don't know. I'm not much on the old Focal drivers. I don't have the history of it, but...
Just see what they're doing with the little monitors nowadays.
There was nothing else out there like it, right?
Yeah.
JBL had just finished the HLA, which was the horn-loaded array thing, and you know, that was kind of what they had to offer. But Vertec came, and it turned around in a year. I think from the start of the conversations with the team that was going to develop it to the first deployment, which was the Democratic Convention that ATK did every year at Staples that year, or it might have still been the Forum. It was 1 year, and they brought out the first Vertec rig. And, it took off like gangbusters because it was a wide-open market, you know? Right. And I think people had finally started to realize this wasn't just a PA for, you know, fine dining for the ears, because I think Metallica and some other bands, you know, finally started using these big line arrays, and it was like, wow, what can we do with this? You know, there's so much we can do in these big spaces. And it was just a really fun time, you know, to be involved in that level of system deployment and get out there and see these things come together.
You were kind of a hot property for a minute. I mean, that was, like you said, Vertec kind of...
Yeah, I mean, it was. It took off, and, you know, and initially I'd say it was pretty inconsistent in its deployment, but what isn't in its first few, you know, runs around the track, right? But just the concept, the line array platform, the form factor, the truck packs, you know, all those good things that came along with it. Certainly was kind of a game changer for our industry.
I would say game changer is the right word.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's move on to your, you know, right now, and for as long as I can remember, God, it's got to be 10 years at least.
It's coming up, yeah.
Is it coming on 10? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Alcons Audio.
Yeah,
Help bring
Alcons
them
Audio.
to America. Now, this is, they're pretty, they kind of spread out over Europe.
Yeah, so Alcons Audio is a Dutch company, right?
Yes,
it's
sir.
a loudspeaker company,
Yeah.
and this June, I guess, will be the 10-year anniversary of the inception of the U.S. office, and we're coming up on our 20-year overall.
Right.
So, you know, relatively new kids on the block compared to the brands that we compete with, you know, the Myers and L Acoustics and such. We're kind of
Sure.
in that high-end segment. We have some really unique things that set us apart. And for me, you know, at the time I was working for Renkes Heinz.
Yeah.
And had kind of hit a ceiling as to where I thought I was going to work with those folks. And I loved the people there, but I just wanted a new challenge, you know?
Sure.
And I was thinking about starting a distribution company to bring in these brands from Europe that really had potential, but just needed someone with experience in distribution in this market. And I heard about Alcons through a number of people. Mark Herman is one I mentioned
Yeah,
to you.
we were talking about him a minute ago.
Another sweetheart of a guy that I really miss. I'm sure Mark Herman is well known throughout the viewership, but Mark had said really good things about it. A few other people said really good things about it. I had a quick phone call with Tom Back, the managing director. We really were on kind of the same page about what they wanted to achieve. And so it really came together very nicely. And I got to say, you know, 10 years has flown by. There's a lot of things that, you know, we've gone through as a company to grow, and the company continues to grow.
Yeah.
And we really did a good job, I think, of establishing a base of business. Like, because when COVID hit, you know, we were in a good position to survive it because we were so diverse. We do cinema systems, we do post-production studio facilities, dub stages, we do performing arts centers, theaters, you know, live music, dance club, all of this different stuff. And we had really made the inroads that were necessary to kind of have that recurring business in that high end, which is so competitive. You
That's
know?
right.
But it's it's a wonderful group of folks to work for. The technology stands on its own. I think, you know, last year, right before COVID hit, we did the NAMM show, and we launched a new big touring box right after the NAMM show, and we had Robert Scoville came out, and I brought his whole rig out, his whole Avid setup. Brad and Greg came out. We had a ton of big engineers, you know, David Morgan, a lot of people that I really respect. Gary Stokes, who I've worked with on tour as well, who's done Katie Lang and worked with Queen and a bunch of bands.
Yeah, really.
And the impression that those guys were left with was just incredible. They were blown away. You know, we had people actually asking, okay, which vendors are going to be carrying this? Because I've got a tour and we've got things going on. So
Wonderful.
we had some real great momentum, and the product, it stands on its own. So if you haven't heard it, get out and hear it.
Yeah.
Contact me, blah, blah, blah. There's the shameless plug.
I can testify to
But,
it. He's not joking around.
It's super high fidelity and high output, high dynamic stuff.
Yeah.
And bulletproof.
Yeah,
bulletproof.
really,
And that's
really
the different
impressive
thing, right?
system. Solid.
Ribbon drivers are not typically seen as bulletproof,
Yeah, that's
but
right.
we haven't blown a single HF driver in the U.S. in 10 years. You
No
know,
shit.
No, it doesn't
That's
happen.
a pretty outstanding record, brother.
Yeah, it's really incredible stuff. But
Yeah, and I know you guys are big on the ribbon technology.
well, yeah.
Talk to us about
Here's
that.
my prop for the day.
You got a prop. You brought a prop.
So there's
Brought
my
a prop.
Yeah, beauty.
have
There's
pro ribbon driver will
RBN
travel.
401.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. You can see it, right? RBN 401.
Yes,
This is
sir.
kind of the
Tell us what's the
classic. This is the 4-inch ribbon,
Yeah.
and that's in a lot of our smaller line arrays, a lot of our point source stuff. But it basically, you know, would be similar to a 1 1/4 inch exit compression driver, you know,
Okay.
from a power standpoint. So 50 watt RMS versus a 50 watt RMS compression driver. This has peak power handling of 750 watts, so a 1:15 ratio instead of a 1:2 ratio. So
Damn.
compression drivers, you got a 50 watt RMS, you generally have a 100 watt peak.
Gotcha.
These things, they'll just
750.
generate those peaks, and
it's
they
amazing.
do it without the distortion, super clean. It's hi-fi,
Yeah.
but it's, you know, high output for concert world. We even had Pooch mixed on a system a couple years ago with Iron Maiden. So they've been road tested. They've been pushed to the gills with
definitely
Kiss and
put 'em-
Iron Maiden. We'll definitely do it.
That'll definitely
and Greg
do it.
Price, oh, that was fun. At the big demos, he broke out the Ramstein and pushed the rig up to 11, and everybody just kind of went, whoa. whoa. You know?
What did you expect? It is Greg
Right,
Price.
of course.
He's coming
That's
at
why
you
he's
with,
there,
with
man.
his Black Sabbath vibe and his way of doing it. And
Yeah. It was great.
Yeah.
And I've known Greg for a bunch of years too.
Yeah.
So it was really fun to have him and Brad there. I'm so thankful that those guys
Bradley
came
Maddox,
out.
we talking about?
Yeah, Brad Maddox.
Brad Maddox and Rush and many others. Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Just a badass.
Well, that's me, the Canadian, following around the Rush engineers.
Well, I noticed you even pronounced Neil's last name properly.
Yeah, of course, man.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's in America we just we struggle.
Yeah, you just bastardize it. It's all right.
What?
He got over it.
So I know Alcons keeps you very busy. When we were working, we were sharing space together. You were spread the fuck out. You were all over the place. What was that about?
Well, we run pretty lean and mean in North America.
Yeah.
Typical setup where I've got independent reps in different territories, and they have set up dealers. So I would go out and train the reps, train the dealers, get involved in certain local productions as far as things that are showcases where we can do some press and show off, the Katie Lang tours with Gary Stokes. We did some great press on that, and I did some bus time with him on that tour. That was great. And, Katie's Canadian, and what a voice. Oh, my God, what an artist to showcase a PA like that, But they keep me incredibly busy. Right now, it's a little bit different. You have to adapt.
Sure.
I'm not traveling. I did one trip last week, which is probably the first trip in 8 months. Went up to Colorado to commission a couple of systems and see some clients and just kind of break myself in gently. But it's a busy thing. I do a lot of that road support and travel, but we're growing to the point where we have to start planning a whole bunch more additions, and we're being cautious right now, of course. We're all looking at the summer and how things slowly roll out to get these other markets that we've started really gaining traction in back online. But, it's an enjoyable field. So, travel isn't so bad, even though I live in heaven already. But
Yeah, I know. Where you live, he lives in Santa Cruz Mountain. It's absolutely Santa Cruz Mountain.
Amongst the redwoods, right?
Just fantastic. It is a rare landscape. Is Miss Ortiz still with us?
She is, yeah. She's the U.S. operations manager.
Yeah, she's a badass.
Ortiz Pino, yeah. She's out there doing that thing. She's in Indiana, but she takes good care of all the operational stuff, does a lot of the marketing stuff. She's kind of our office pit bull, too. She keeps us all in line.
Well, she's the real deal.
Dutch and
I
Canadians.
can't say enough about her. I enjoy her a great deal, and I'm glad to hear she's hopefully doing well and keeping the reins on things. You guys are a bunch of hooligans. So
absolutely.
If some young lad, some young whippersnapper was going to come up to you and say, I like what you do, I want to get into business, what would your advice be to get into this game?
That's a good question. I do presentations for collegiate level students a lot, not so much in the last year, but USITT is the Theater Technology Institute. And every year they do a show, and it's 90% students, and they're all in there learning from guys like Buford. Buford has been forever doing seminars through Meyer at those things.
Right.
And, I tell them there's a lot of opportunities. It really comes down to what do you want to do? What's the lifestyle that you want? You got to work hard. You got to learn from the people around you, and put in the time and the effort, and you'll get there. But there's so many different opportunities. Like for me on the manufacturing side, it's getting in at the ground floor and making an impression on the people around you, working hard, and earning the opportunity to get that next job up the ladder.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to, hard work, yeah.
Got to be willing to put in the hours.
Yeah, absolutely.
You understand you'll probably be the first ones in, last ones out.
Yeah, and never stop learning, right?
Can't.
Yeah.
Not in this business.
No way.
It isn't an option.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's sometimes that's a tricky one to impress upon folks. What's the future for Alcons Audio and Dave Rahn?
Well, we're, plugging away at it. It's, like I said, business has been actually pretty solid for us. So we're fortunate. We're doing a lot of planning right now on different vertical market segments that we're already kind of in, but how do we expand upon those things? So, this is it for me. I'm going to take this one to the pearly gates. Alcons, it's a great company to work for. It's a great product that I can stand behind. And it's different, the way that they operate. The Dutch, I worked for the big corporations, the Harmans, and then I worked for the Renkus, which is a family-owned company. And, every company has its strengths and its weaknesses. With the Dutch, they're very practical. They're hardworking. They're dedicated to the craft. And you know, they're not in it for the buck.
Yeah.
You know, that was one of the first things I wanted to know was, look, are you guys going to sell this company after we do all these amazing things? And that wasn't really the agenda. You know, it was more about carving out their place in the market and establishing themselves as kind of leaders, you know. And that's kind of how we're doing it. We're getting there. Every opportunity people get to hear these systems, they're blown away. And, you know, so it makes my job easy.
Well,
why would I even consider doing something different? You know?
No, I totally get that. I love working for Sound Image. I think the way the Sound Image gets it done,
world class.
you know what I mean? And so I can't imagine being anything else or doing anything else, and I hope I never have to.
Right.
And so that's great to hear. It's a very fortunate, lucky position, and they're lucky to have you, Dave. I mean, you're a badass in the game, and it's been really a treat to see you again. It's been too long,
absolutely,
brother.
man.
You know, you look great, and congratulations on the marriage again.
Thank you
we
so much.
appreciate you very much for coming out, driving out from the mountains to kick it with us. I know
yeah.
Bernie was very excited to see you. Bernie
I got
Broadway.
a tour of the rig, the old Alcons rig.
What state is it in? Last time I
It's
saw you
looking
had been
good,
torn
man.
a shitload of stuff out
Oh,
of
it's
it.
looking good.
Yeah.
He's, you know,
He
Bernie
loves
is
that
the
thing.
master. You know, give him a torch, a welding system, and
Yeah, set him loose.
some tools, and you're in good shape. Yeah.
Well, you know, he can't. We were talking about just yesterday. We're talking about this show hauler that you sold him.
Right.
And it's kind of like a Mercedes engine over.
Yeah, it's
is
a
it
big
international or a Peterbilt
It's a
or something?
Mercedes. Yeah, it's a Columbia Freightliner.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the big Mercedes 450 horse, something like that. And it was custom built to pull a big trailer with multiple cars in it. So
Yeah.
that's what Alcons Audio USA bought in the early days. And we dragged a trailer around with PA systems and did demos that way. You
Yeah.
know, we figured, you know, it's a big country. There's a lot of space to cover, and shipping big PAs around,
Oh
and then
my
flying
God.
to meet them, and then staying in hotels.
Really
It
expensive.
almost makes Bernie's house even better. For
Yeah,
a
yeah.
speaker god like Bernie to live in an old speaker gift card, like that's pretty badass.
No, I mean this thing is special. You know, there's vehicles and then there's vehicles. That
Yeah.
thing is
It's a
next.
beast.
It's a next level. Big old
It's a
Allison
beast.
transmission in it, and that insane giant Mercedes engine.
Yeah.
And then of course, like you said, Bernie gets his hands on it. Oh, exactly. He's gonna turn it into something entirely
I
different.
know, right?
So I think he's gutting it out. And
There's
you
a
know,
whole episode in that, I think, alone.
well, you know, we're
Chop
lucky.
shop.
Burn's right in the house, so you know, it's like we get very lucky. We got Brad Maddox in the house, and you know, and you're right down the road. And we're very, very, very lucky
Yeah,
to
we're in a
be
good
associated
place.
with these folks. And Bernie's an amazing cat.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Absolutely,
it's a great
man. It's
treat
been
to
fun.
see you. Really, man. Don't be a stranger. And
Great seeing you,
let's
too.
Work something out. Maybe I can get my own satellite or something, so I can call you directly. And
yeah, absolutely, brother.
so many problems getting
Absolutely,
through.
man.
It was a treat to see you, brother. Thanks
Awesome,
for coming
buddy.
in, man. Dude, super fun. I love this guy.
Right?
All right.
That was a great show,
What
man.
the hell? And sorry about the mic mix-up. I put it on myself. That is always a bad idea. Never good. Never good. So don't let me do that again, please. All right.
You got it.
That numbskull. All right, Marty. Is that Marty Kell? Marty Kell checked in, and Michael Cole. Great to see you, brother. Marty's saying hi to you, Dave. All right. And of course, Jason from the Infirmities, all of our good friends, Clinton Widsley, thank you guys so much. It's been a great night. I'm a spaz. I've been a little pumped up today. It was lovely to see you. Next week, now hold on tight for this, guys. Really, big announcement. Next week, Jim Yakubowski. That's why I said Jim Yakubowski. You know who Yakubowski is? We call him the Yak. That's Van Halen's guy, Journey's guy. This guy's a fucking living legend. He's an author.
You're gonna make our audience spit their Mountain Dew out, Vince. Calm
Dude,
down.
it's Yakubowski, man. It's a bad. I'm really excited to get Jim in here. It's like, wow, that's really exciting. We all have, people we look up to.
Man, you picked them. The next month or two, you got some
I kind
nuggets.
of got a lineup going on that's kind of impressive. And, I'm competing with some big dogs out there between Chris Leonard and his show with, Signal to Noise and Pooch and Rybold and Pooch and Tater. These are friends, and I want them to do well, but, also it's a little bit of a competition, and I want to get them. So, so I'm trying to do that. So please check in with us next week, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Thursday. We're going to have the great Jim Yakubowski on. He's going to be friggin' amazing. All kinds of great stories. He's written a book. He teaches classes over there. There's many things that you're going to learn and you want to see. I want to thank my friends for being in the audience today. The great Polly Montero of SIR. Winston Dama, my dear friend, Bernie Broderick. I couldn't do it without Michael Brown and the great Kyle Thomas. I appreciate all of you guys. I love you, my darling wife. I hope you guys have a great week. Keep your heads about you. Be kind to each other. Be good to yourselves. We'll see you next week. Good night.